These are not on spinning lock.
The problem is it don't ring out loud anymore.
Look at that.
I can't hear
Head
it.
cut off of it.
Okay,
You get-
but if it's over
you
here
get
in the
better
corner
picture
on
than that.
Y'all have it on
This is at our end of our day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I come in today. And then
There's
brother's
big
on
one.
her one.
Oh, it's a good night to be here. And Frank's got a real good program for us. And I think everybody will get a lot out of it. Has everybody put a fly in the fly draw that wants to do it and got your card back and all that? You got one last chance. We got several things we're going to do tonight, including Frank. We got a nomination and an election for a treasurer. And I hope we get that to go off well tonight. Another thing I wanted to note, I just left Cherokee County, and some friends of mine are building a kayak, built it. It's a kayak launch up there, and they rent kayaks and so forth, so up on the Chattooga River, about 2.5 miles above Galesville, up on Highway 68. And it's beautiful up there on that river. I didn't realize that river was that nice, but it is. It's a really good place. If you got a kayak and want to go float and do some real good fishing, have some fun, or just enjoy the day, that'd be a place to go. It's a lot better launch than what I've seen on Terrapin Creek too, but I like them both. Anybody have a fishing report while we're waiting? Anybody been fishing and caught something or fell in or whatever? Yeah.
I just got back a few days ago from Orange Beach, Alabama, and I was gonna do some fly fishing, but it's kind of windy. And but I did some conventional fishing with some dead shrimp, and I caught a stingray, a flounder, one of them saltwater catfish, and some pinfish.
Well, you hadn't been fishing in Florida until you caught a few saltwater cats.
Them stingrays, they fight.
Yeah.
I enjoy catching them.
Yeah. Anyone else? Somebody want to help me do this fly draw and we'll get it going. We got some people still signing in back there. You check those folks out. We don't want to leave anybody out. Well, I just wanted to, while we got a few minutes, some of us old folks, we go out to eat before we come to the club meeting. We've been going over to Cape Side seafood place up here on 77. Real good food. They're real good to us. They've given us a big gift certificate to give away tonight. So at the beginning, usually about 4:30, 5 o'clock, the night before the meeting, we all meet up there and just have a dinner. So any of you want to come, just keep that in mind. And we usually advertise it too, to let you know that it's still going on. So. Oh, Jerry. That's all right. Hey, Logan, where's Frank? Oh, there. Don't sneak up behind him. The election for the trip. We get club people share. Hey, Jerry, would you mind if we put you off one more month? Okay.
Mary is a temporary.
Yeah.
Let's just.
Would you do that, Mary? We want to appoint you as a temporary treasurer.
Till we can vote on it.
Until we can vote on it. We want to wait till we get more members back, and then we'll do it. So you can work it out with her, okay?
Terry's held our treasury spot down for a while, doing a good job.
So, there again, like this week, this month, next month, we'll be accepting, nominations for, treasurer. So if you got the backgrounds and you know how to add and subtract, we could probably use you. But, anyway, if we're ready, we'll do a fly draw. Who wants to? Somebody want to come help do this? I don't know.
I would.
Everybody got their ticket in here? All right, here we go. Just draw one. You drawing your own ticket?
No,
Okay,
I got it when I'm ready.
just hand it to me. Hand it to me. There you go.
Oh, drawing my ticket.
Well, there's only one.
Well, I got it so when my name's done. But I don't have.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's.
4062.
That's me.
Oh,
I'm not kidding.
come pick one out.
I'll put mine over where it won't get mixed.
You want something that's pretty or something will catch fish? Well, that's pretty and will catch fish.
Whose name's
name's
on
on there?
Oh, inside the car.
Colt,
Oh, what's the name on the back?
Colt, Timmy.
Timmons? Is that
Did
the
I say it
name?
Right.
I can't hardly read it.
Me.
Colt. Oh,
There you go.
oh, there we go. You get the little book. Isn't that what it is tonight, Frank? There you go. Thanks a lot. All right, let's try another.
I put my ticket on that table where I wouldn't need to. Okay,
Let me read it. I'll read it through the microphone. Even though you got a loud voice. 4056. Somebody at that table back there, I guess.
Just keep drawing.
Huh?
Keep drawing them.
Four 4059. Y'all just keep on coming.
He did.
4059. There you go. Oh, man. 4055. Yeah, yours is all right. Where's your ticket? That's your ticket. Leave your ticket. You getting tired? Oh, man. This has got it in. 4057. Oh. Somebody right. 4063.
yes, mine.
4063. Is that you?
Yeah.
All right. It's yours. I'm gonna draw them all. 4064. Somebody get him out of his chair.
I did.
Yeah.
4053. See the ticket. Four oh seven one. Four oh 68. Four oh 65. Four oh 70. Dirty chicken. Four oh 58. That's me. $69. $4.54. $4.60. $61. 4061. $66. $4.67. Is there one person who put a fly in and hadn't got one yet? We got one fly left. What's your number?
94.
Come get this one.
Never mind, that's on fifty. Never mind.
Apparently it didn't get put in the pot. You gotta remember to put the fly in the pot. That was the ticket. Well, are we gonna go ahead and do these other drawings?
Yeah, go ahead and draw those other two.
Huh? And these are what?
What do you mean?
These tickets.
They're
Is that
for the-
everybody that's here?
That's everyone that's here.
Okay, we got a couple of prizes up here that we're gonna draw for real quick. Some nice flies, and we got a nice gift card up here from, like I was telling you, it's Cape Side. So, mixing them up real good.
Put yours on top.
Give you a better shot. I'm gonna let this young man reach in there and draw one. Okay.
Oh.
6092. Hey. There you go.
Draw one.
More. 6116. 6116.
You own. Hey.
Oh, you
This
got
is
that.
a mighty fishy year. Yeah, you live.
These flies. And you can hear that too.
They drain right.
Yeah. All right. I think that's all hey, give you this. This is the name of all the flies in order that they're on there. Okay? Well, without further ado, we want to turn this program over to Frank Roden, and he's gonna talk to us about fly rods. This is the first in our 10-month series of learning how to fly fish. And is this gonna be, if they want to look at this tomorrow, can they look at it tomorrow? Is it there?
Hopefully.
Huh?
Hopefully, we're gonna record it.
Hopefully it'll be recorded and or whatever. If you got questions about it, you can always call and talk to Frank or somebody else. But hopefully it's gonna be online where you can pull it up and you can go through the whole program again. So here's Frank.
You can cut the other one off too.
Allow me just a moment to set up some equipment. I think the best way to make this like a wading jacket is slip it on. It'd be a little cool.
Did that take the glare out of that?
Yeah, you're good.
That's the light. No, it's still got it in there. I don't know where it's coming from.
Feel free to shift around, Chuck, if you need to move it around.
Got a lot of glare on it, and it's coming from those closed blinds right there.
There you go.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, this,
I think unless you're, how are y'all? Can y'all see all that glare in it? Or is it pretty plain? How about you? Okay. I'm the only one complaining.
Okay, guys, we mentioned it. I think it was beginning fly fishing. My presentation wasn't designed that for tonight. It was to orientate us on the equipment, bring us up to date on any new equipment, and old equipment. Yeah.
Hold the microphone a little bit closer to you, man.
Closer to my mouth. That help? Okay. All right. Not actually basic fly fishing, but just talking about some of the basic equipment that we'll need as we approach fly fishing. Chuck, if you'll help me out, I don't have a lot of cord here to run with. If you'll grab this fly rod over by the television. The fly rods that we look at, as we're looking at the first slide here, has developed through the years. As Chuck holds this up, it's a 9 foot, probably 4 weight, if I remember what I brought with me. That rod is the basics of where a lot of people start. But we're gonna look at the fly rods about the lengths, the sizes, the flexes, and what fits us the best. From there, Chuck, if you will point out the real seat,
We'll see. That's what the reel hangs in right here.
you've got the
You
real
all see
seat.
this? No.
Yeah, just
As you're looking at the rod now, you've got the real butt, the real seat where the reel attaches. You have the handle or grip where the cork is. On most rods, or light rods, you will find a hook keeper right here, a little metal loop. A lot of people, when they go and spool their new rod for the first time, they'll take that line and they'll go through that and through the stripping guides and all that. You talking about fouling up your cast, you just run it through that hook keeper, which is supposed to be right here. That will mess you up. From there, as Chuck's holding it, he can point out the stripping guide, if you will, to me, which is the first guide on the rod. Looks much like a spinning rod guide. It's lining your line up, getting ready to go through the snake guides, okay? You've got your flex. On this rod, we're gonna talk about in a moment. But first, Chuck, I'm gonna back up just a second. Take that rod apart and put it together for me, just one piece.
Where's the break it right there?
That's an expensive rod.
Chuck just did something that I didn't think he was fixing to do on me. He pulled it apart wrong. Okay. Anybody know how to put a rod together right?
Twist it.
You start it on, put the guides approximately 90 degrees to this guide, Chuck. In fact, you can lay it down on the waders if you want, that'll help you. Come up here with me and start these guides here, 90 degrees of these guides. Now, without gripping the guide, I want you to twist it 90 degrees and line up the dots on the rod. Once you've done that, Chuck, try to pull it apart like you just pulled.
Oops.
Well. Toby,
I didn't have it
Yeah, that
down there
looks like that's an
intentionally.
expensive
All right.
rod.
if you push it down there snugly, but not hard, and twist it 90 degrees,
There it
it's
is.
gonna be tough to pull apart. To take apart, untwist it, just reverse what you did. If you get on a string, like Chuck may get on at 40 degrees in the morning, puts his rod together, comes off in the afternoon at 72 degrees, the rod won't come apart. Don't do like one of our clients did. He had a lifetime warranty on the rod. Couldn't get the rod apart, so he put it in the door and slammed that door. Now he had a rod that he could travel with. Come home and walked in the door and says, Frank, I need to check on my warranty. Got his rod made up, but it wasn't the way we had thought it would happen. Had he took that same rod that wasn't coming apart at 72 degrees and walked over at that cool water and laid the rod down in the water for a few minutes and then untwisted it, would come right apart. This graphite is much like many metals and other things in today's world. They expand and contract with the heat. So expect from to get tight as day warms up and loosened up as day gets cool. But if you've got a problem, just wet it down in cold water and take it apart. And it's one way to turn a 4-piece rod into a 2-piece real quick, but we don't want that to happen. Chuck, from here, looks like you're gonna be my demonstrator tonight. There's another rod laying in the window there behind these folks. What I'd like for you to do is reach over there and point it towards Alan Hodges. And Alan Hodges, I want you to carry this rod, this line, the green part, back to about where Bob McWhorter is. Okay, just right down there, the aisle behind. Carry it down there about where Bob McWhorter is.
You got a big fish.
Well, what we're looking for now
Drag or drag.
is when we have this rod out, we wanna go ahead and look at the weighted section of the line. This weighted section of the line is a thick part. If anybody wants to reach up there and touch it or feel of it. And then later in the night, you'll come by and you'll put your hand on the thin line back here, which, that's your running line, the thin line. The head, the first 28 to 30 feet is what we're gonna be casting. So if you will reel that in during social time, I'll let people go back through it. Remember that the first 28 to 30 feet is what we're casting. We're not casting the lure.
You want me to leave some of it out?
They're casting.
From that point, let's step back to the main basics of the rods. Anybody have a bamboo rod on hand at home? Okay, got at least one. Bamboo rod,
I've used a cane pole. But
cane pole, that's pretty close. Logan, I need slide two, please.
All right.
On slide two, you can see flexes. That bamboo rod is gonna be a real slow flex. When you back cast, you're gonna have to wait and wait and for it to load up. The line is shifted. When I say load up, it's straight behind the rod and then you bring it forward. Mid flex and medium fast rods are gonna be higher up on the rod shaft, closer to the end. Today's world, most of the rods you buy are gonna be mid-flex if you're buying kits or beyond a starter rod, better than a starter rod, but most of them gonna be mid-flex. If you're throwing big flies or wet flies, tilt flex, which is a fast rod. When you back cast with it, when Chuck, if he was to back cast with that rod, it would load it up much faster, okay? So that's the flexes on the rod. And if we look at that, remember I said bamboo will flex quite a bit and travel a much slower pace with your flying line. Setting up your loops where your reverse or your back loop looks mirror image to your front loop. If you get that back loop perfect, it's gonna match out on the front end, it's gonna make it real easy. At this point, let's think about what was the next thing that moved on. If any of you was around in the 50s and early 60s, you remember that old generation of fiberglass. Many of us had fished those rods. They were thick, they were heavy, not near what the graphite rod is. Graphite rod casts a lot easier for most of us. And the graphite rods have come along and they've come through NASA, what's provided that for us. Been something fantastic. Have a 4-piece rod that'll cast like a 1-piece rod. But now, to make graphite rod, new generation of fiberglass come out. And a lot of people are fishing that new generation of fiberglass. It fishes well. So we're looking all through that, and now the new carbon fibers have stepped in from NASA, has provided us to a new combination of composite rods, carbon fibers that allow even sweeter casts. So it's a process is continuing going on. A graphite rod is where most people, in my opinion, should start. But again, this is our personal opinion. Jerry Jones may love a bamboo rod. Alan may like a old generation fiberglass. Terry Lester may want a new generation fiberglass. Chuck may want one of these new carbon fiber rods. So it's all personal opinion and what fits you. No one rod is made for everybody. Find a rod that fits you, that catches well, that you feel good about. By the way, Alan Hodges, Terry Lester, and Ben back here in the back, when we break after this, the social time, people that have questions, stop by these guys and talk to them a little bit about what is going on here and what you're picking up on this and what you can share with them. Let's go to slide, please. Okay, if you're someone with my tall silhouette and you're fishing mountain streams, a lot of people say, I want a 6-foot rod for mountain stream. Well, if you're my silhouette, you want that 9-foot rod where you can reach out there and dab, or either let it drift downstream and cast it upstream at a low angle off the water. I can make a 30-foot cast with a 9-foot rod by keeping my rod tip close to water, letting the line drift downstream, using the back cast as the downstream float as my back cast, make one shot upstream without a back cast, and put the fly where I want it 30 feet. In most of these mountain streams, if you look at the canopy, if I go with this overhead cast and try to get that 30 feet of line out for a back cast, guess who's trying to climb a tree and get his fly? So we need to approach different angles on that. The 6-foot rod, a lot of fellows find it easier, but it doesn't work for me. So there again, find a rod that fits you. You come in the shop and I tell you small streams, 8.5 to 9-foot rods, and I show you how to fish them, how they'll work great. But you still may prefer a 6-foot, 7.5 foot, something that nature. Next slide, please. Big water. Big water rods, again, most people tell you 8.5 to 9 feet. Even as tall as Logan is, I think that he'd have advantage if he fishing 9-foot wide rod on these big open bodies. You know, I think that might give him advantage, such as the same thing happens with kayakers when they come asking me for 10-foot, 11-foot rods. By them sitting on the kayak, that longer rod allows them to reach out a little more. We're going to step up to the reels. Reels have come a long way. Someone asked me before I got up here about the older reels, and still there's some involved today. It's a spring loaded that we retrieve ourselves. Have you ever had a lawnmower spring blow up? It takes a while to fix it if you can. The springs on these older automatic reels is much the same, a little more delicate spring, and once you got a machine shop at the house, you're probably not gonna be able to put it back together. I really like a manual reel. Manual reels, you have click and pawl, which doesn't have a great deal of drag. You have different types of disc drag, and then you have enclosed drags. This reel here has an enclosed drag. It uploads on the rod, meaning when you put it on the rod, you're going to adjust here at the butt of the rod, at the reel seat, just upward to lock it on. If anyone tells you that today's reel is all they do is hold the fly line, don't believe it. If you ever get a good fish on, Chuck, wasn't you showing a good spotty trout earlier? Wasn't you showing a good spotty trout earlier in photos?
Yeah.
Chuck, if he had a click and pawl reel, he probably wouldn't have brought that fish in.
Probably wouldn't.
But if you had something with a efficient drag on it. There you go. You need the drags on the reel. You have cast reels, which is a reel that, is, say, aluminum reel, but it's molded in a cast or poured up. And you have machinery. There's a lot of difference in both what they'll do and the way you'll look at the expense on them. The machine reels will cost you quite a bit more, but they'll last you a lot longer. Machine reels tolerances are so much closer than the cast reel. And I'll back up for just a moment. There's also a composite reel. I won't call it plastic, but it's not a metal reel. There's a lot of those out there. They've got some fantastic drags on them. But if you fall up at Knoxville Falls with it and it breaks, you're just out of it. You know, you're not gonna repair that real easy. So now we've got composite reels. We have cast reels such as cast aluminum. You have machine reels. And then you've got to adjust for the different type drags on them. What's on that reel? You've got your backing, which is the first thing that attaches to your fly reel. With that backing, it's normally Dacron, and depending on salt or fresh water, you'll go from 100 feet to 200 feet minimum, which means 100 yards on fresh water, 200 yards minimum on salt water. Then also there's two common weights in that. You've got your 20-pound breaking strength and your 30-pound breaking strength. There again, fresh water to salt water will make the decision on that. Once you've got your backing on, then the fly line goes on. And the fly line, something sticking up in the wood, I think that's it. The fly line goes on, and normally a good fly line that's not a promotional will run 85 to 120 feet. There again, those lengths will mean a lot when you're talking fresh or salt water. Tapered leader. Here, now the tapered leader, much of our freshwater experience. Jerry, you fish a pearl leader. Okay, those leaders are great on your freshwater. Okay, those leaders, if you're fishing particular fish on saltwater, you may have to adjust what you're doing with it. Some will take it, some won't. This is a tapered leader, meaning when you buy one off shelf at a fly shop, it's gonna be a thick butt on it, and it's gonna taper to a really narrow end on the end of the leader. You also have knots or knotted leaders that we tie ourselves. On those knotted leaders, we might go with a 4 or 5 foot butt section, real heavy monofilament, then tie on a lighter section of monofilament to the length we want. When you cast those, that heavy butt is going to allow it to turn over better. On flies such as poppers and big streamers, it's going to turn over better. Now let's talk about lengths on leaders. The heavier the fly, or the more drag it's going to produce, the shorter the leader is a good rule to think of and go by. Basically, you're selling leaders 7.5 to 9 feet long. And most people don't know that that tapered leader has the tippet made on it. They'll come in and buy a tapered leader, and somebody's told them they need 3 feet of tippet, and they'll have a 9 foot tapered leader, and they'll put 3 more feet of tippet on it. That doesn't always turn over well, okay? So consider the lengths that you need overall. shortest leaders that I'm seeing people fish for the main part is anywhere from 6 foot and they'll go up to about 14 feet on real particular trout. I don't recommend that you get out on salt water with a big streamer with a 14-foot leader trying to catch. If the wind don't get you, the fly will. So, pretty much where that is. The tippet ties on to the end of that leader once you have disposed of the regional end, or you need to put more on it. It's your decision. Then the last thing is the fly. On this little board here in front of Chuck, you're gonna see the same thing. Yes, Bill?
What knot do you suggest between your leader and your tippet and your fly?
Well, Bill, I'm gonna give you some names of some knots, but we're gonna have a fly tying course like this later on. So I'm not gonna try to tell you how to tie them, but I'm gonna give you the names of them tonight. Chuck pointed out here on the board, Chuck, if you put here an Albright could be good right back here to the backing to the reel. A nail knot is fine for fresh water here, but also there's several other knots we can tie in. But when you get to the leader, the best thing these days, loop to loop, it's a heck of a lot of work out of it. A loop to loop leader. Now, for Bill's question, the leader to the tippet, Bill, a double surgeon. You just basically make it 2 overhand knots. You match the lines together in 2 overhand knots. And as we get in later in the programs, as another speaker comes up, he's gonna show you hands on how he ties those knots. And then we're gonna have some tables set up around the room for everybody to share those. But you've probably done the double surgeons and know what it is, but it's just a double, no. Okay, it's simply,
I'm an Eagle Scout, not a fly fisherman.
okay, it's a simply, O-handed knot done twice. And that's a good reason for you to be at that knot meeting. And, I'm not sure, Mary, could you tell me who's doing knots?
Let's see, Bob McCord.
Bob McCorder, and I've seen him tie these knots. He does a real good job of demonstrating. He will show you firsthand how to tie them and tie them right. And then maybe that night we'll get an opportunity to tie a few knots after he does his initial demonstration. Yes, sir.
I want to back up something you're talking about the reels. What is the major difference between like a Orbis Hydro versus a reel that's 3 times the price?
A hydros versus a reel that's 3 times the price.
In other words, some of the Orbis reels are, the Hydros might be 200 or 300, and then Orbis also makes reels that are 700.
The machining in the product will be enhanced on the higher priced ones. And also they tend to coat the reels with a different material. The drag will be a little different.
So the performance would be in the drag.
Performance in the drag.
Performance difference, right?
And the Orvis's drags now are not that far apart. When you go from one to the next, the drag may get larger in them, but they're pretty much the same design. And that works well. While I'm on that, and we'll speak up on this, I sell a number of different reels. Well, I'm being narrowed down on time quick. Bill, you'll see a number of different reels on the market. In my work, I've found that the most reel for the money on the market anywhere is an Orbis reel. I can't say it about everything on Orbis, but as far as reels, the most, if you spent $300 out there on the market. For $300, you get a better reel from me, from Orbis than anybody else out there. It's just the way it's going. So Orbis is really pumped it up on the reel. I'm gonna try to move on real quick. Lines, as you see on the board, delicate trout, I'm saying like brookies and small rainbows or even small browns, 1 to 3 weight lines. Average trout and panfish, 4, 5, and 6 weight rods. You can look on the, if you've got a rod, just look there near the grip on the rod and you're gonna find that. If you're fishing salmon, and I say light salmon, light saltwater and bass, look at 7, 8, and 9 weights. If you're going after big game fish, we'll name tarpon, longfin tuna, Atlantic sails, for example. If you're going after those guys, don't step out there with a 7 weight rod. Look at 10, 11, and 12 weights, which are not fun to cast. With them not being fun to cast, you're not gonna have to make many casts that day. You go out on the water, you may get 5 shots at a tarpon on a good day. That means 5 to 10 casts. You may get 2 casts on the same fish. So you're not gonna make a lot of casts, but you wouldn't want to with that weight rod, because they will work on you. Next slide, please. I must take a minute and talk about top lines. Up at A, you have the weight forward floating. Everybody around here is familiar with that. It casts as well. The next line is an intermediate sinking, which is slow sink. And when you cast that line, it's gonna be a pleasure to cast. Probably one of the best casting lines I've ever cast. You get down to a sink tilt. If it's sink tilt with an intermediate tilt, boy, is it cast good, and we use it a lot around here. Good bass fishing line. You get down to D, some of us in the world call it depth charge. If you ever seen a piece of commo wire from the military, it feels like commo wire, it looks like commo wire, and it casts like commo wire. Worst casting line I've ever had, but if I gotta get down deep, I don't have a lot of choice. You know, I don't want to try to cast a weight on the end of the rod after to get it down that deep. Then take that depth charge line and it sinks fast. Normally depth charge line is a dark color, either dark green or black color. Those are what we're looking at there. And Logan, if I can move on here, we talked about weight forward floating lines and that 28 to 30 feet ahead. That head or belly is right in here, in this section right here. That is what we're casting. We're not casting a line. This running line gets real thin on the back. And with that thin line, it's made to follow the belly of that line out. So if you load the belly well, get a really good sweet backhead, you're gonna feel it. You're gonna know that rod loaded well. Come forward with it, it's gonna shoot. Okay, it's gonna go somewhere. Next slide. If you're fishing small streams, you say, I love the roll cast. I can't get it through the canopy, I can't get it around the bushes, but I want a roll cast. The line I just showed you prior to this had about a 30-foot head, and if you're fortunate, you get that roll cast about 30 feet. If you want to get out there to 70 feet, you get a double taper front line, which is the same on both ends. Its belly runs almost from end to end. And when you roll cast it, it'll carry it out there for you. It'll shoot it, roll cast it, it'll shoot it way out. You don't have to have 70 feet of line out to roll cast 70 feet. If you got it free and untangled at your feet or on the water, and you load that on the water well and roll it forward, you're gonna get that long. But double taper, that in what we do today, that's probably the best thing for road casting. Some of the older guys come in the store, they're again old school. They'll come in and say, Frank, I want double taper because I wear one end out and fish the other. So be it. But the real advantage is the road cast. Next slide, please. Okay, we've got the line on, the backing on, everything ready to go. It's time to tie a fly on and the next fly and go fishing. Now, I have a little equipment that I'll talk to you in social time about, but we're out of time on my program. And, got about 10?
Yeah, because we started late.
Okay, they just allowed me some extra time. Maybe you get the light for me. Chuck, don't run away.
No, we're not gonna run y'all.
Okay. Jackets, light weighting jackets like I have on. They're windproof, they're waterproof, and they breathe. Now, how they do all three of that, don't ask me. Mirrors and wires, as far as I'm concerned. But they make them where they breathe and they're waterproof at the same time. Waders today are much the same. They're lightweight, not much heavier than your jacket, and they have neoprene socks on the bottom. Those neoprene socks make a lot easier day for you. Your boots, your wading boots, you normally purchase wading boots one size larger than what you wear in regular shoes. I love felt soles, but felt soles are no longer accepted worldwide anymore. If you're going, in Alaska requires rubber sole.
Yes.
I think Montana's moving that way, and there's a couple other states. These are rubber sole wading shoes. They're great out there in those areas. The rocks are different than what we're walking on here in the southeast. Anybody notice these rocks we're walking on are something like greased bowling balls? When I put these on in those greased bowling balls, first thing hits water in the back of my head. You know, my feet go out from under me quick. So I still love my felt, but know that I can't wear them worldwide. There are places, yes, Bill.
Those more stable than spikes? Are those more stable than spikes?
These are available with spikes in them if you want. They come rubber soles and you can just package the spikes come with it and you screw the spikes in. But what I noticed on my spikes on these boots and I'm on a stream that looks like maybe large pea gravel type rock or flat rock. I got a click sound on it the entire time I've got spikes in. It sounds like I'm walking with golf shoes on the rocks. I imagine I've run a few fish off with them. So I'm fishing rubber soles at this time without my spikes. There may be times when I need to put them in. One advantage is a rubber sole. If you're hiking in, that boot probably lasts longer than my felt sole will, hiking in and out of streams. So they're both available. The rod Chuck had pulling line out on earlier is a TFO package, which is about as good a package as you can get for the money. Orvis builds one, I can cast them side by side on the one, and there's not a lot of difference. However, the difference is in the warranty. TFO's throwing a lifetime, no fault warranty, no matter how we break it. We put it in car door and break it, they're gonna replace it. Orvis has a one-time policy that they will help you fix that package rod that they sell, and then you're on your own after that. So realize you might get the Orvis rod fixed one time, and now I'm talking about these kits. one time and you're on your own with the orders. This is lifetime no matter what. And on TFO, heads up. Jimmy Works may be one of the first ones that told me about this. If you're coming out there on a broken tip, if you call them and tell them, I got a broke tip on my rod, and you tell them what that rod is, okay? They may offer you a rod at $20-something and shipping it to you. Remember what your warranty fee is now on that warranty rod? $45 if you send that rod back to them, you got it back for 20-something, basically. You got that rod tip you got back without having to mail that first one off. So there is a little leeway on that. Consider that. Now, I said about warranties on Orbis one time, and you're on your own. Once you get to a clear water rod and up, that's 25 years. You'll never have a problem with them. Their rods or reels, all of it covers good. But I gotta move on. Mary, I'm down to about, what, 5 minutes? Okay, I hope when I'm waiting swings, I've got a swing pack. Swing pack I really like because I can swing it over my head, and when I wanna use it, pull it around here real quick across my chest, correct my problems I'm having, or time flies on from my clients, and then I swing it right back around. The whole time it's actually over on my head. Let me do it. Okay, if I need to use it, here I am. I'm ready to go. I got a platform. If I don't need to use it, slide down the one, and I'm done. So it's real convenient. I don't have to take my pack off and lay it on the ground and open it up. Do what I need to do, close everything back up, put it back on. 3 basic tools. Very weak to talk about this. Knot tying tool, a set of forceps and a set of nippers. I think that most of you agree with me that you can go get fly fish most anywhere in the world with these 3 tools. You don't have to have everything in a shop, everything in the catalogs. You take these 3 tools, they go a long ways. I like the lanyard because easy access and not digging in any pockets. Yes,
Now, if you're dealing with like saltwater fish and bigger fish, you might want a pair of like fishing needle nose pliers or just regular needle nose pliers. Well, they're a little thicker than that.
that's true, but most of the time that we're fishing out on open water, we're with a guide.
Yeah.
And there ain't nothing that guy doesn't have with him. They can take care of you. From the rods to the flies to any of the lines, lasers. And then you need a small box of flies, okay? A good hat, and a pair of sunglasses. Mary, got so much more, but it's time for me to wrap it up. We got questions? Now here's what I wanted to do. The 3 people I named up earlier, if you'll raise your hands. Alan, Ben, and Terry. Guys, if you're having questions, I can't get around and answer everybody's questions, but if you touch base with any of these 3 guys, if they don't know the answer, they know where to find it. They'll take care of it, okay? If you need a 4th one, let's go back here in the white t-shirt next to Terry. Jerry Jones. He's been around fly fishing a long time, and he can also answer these questions. If we don't have any questions, Chuck, I'd like to turn it back over to you.
Okay.
Let me get on the way.
And we'll be having about 20-minute social time here at the end of the meeting, and that's when you can ask all your questions and do whatever you need to do.
Is there something nailed down for a July event up at the DeKalb County Lake? Is that?
Oh, no, we're gonna fix to talk about that.
Okay.
Well, thank you, Frank, we appreciate that. I got a couple of notes here that a couple of our members are having some serious health problems right now. Ron Higgins is really not doing very good, and we all need to keep him in our prayers. And talked to him. He enjoys, people calling him and talking to him and keeping him up to date what's going on. And Paul McWhorter had an ankle replacement, and he's laying up there in a nursing home rehab facility. He can't even put his feet down on the floor yet, but he's doing well. So hopefully by October, he'll be back up fishing with us again. We had some folks had gotten together and tried to put together a club trip, and I wasn't really involved in it. We were involved in this move and everything, so I kind of passed the buck as much as I could. There was talk about going up to DeKalb County Lake, and I don't even know the date. What was it, 23rd?
It would be, sorry, hang on.
Well, anyway, I don't think that's a
The
real
24th.
good time to go. I believe Bill Couch and a couple of the guys went up to DeKalb County Lake last week, and they caught some bass in deeper water on plastic worms, but as far as flies go, they really didn't do any good. I believe it's too hot. Those lakes, there's better places to go, put it that way. And up around Town Creek and a couple other places up at Gunsville area are real good wade fishing. You're gonna catch some brim, you're gonna catch some bass, you're gonna enjoy the time. The wading is fairly easy. And if we put something on this time of year, I suggest that's what we do. It's a little bit further to drive up there, but I think everybody would enjoy it a little bit more. You don't need waders, and the water's warm enough, but that water up there, they generate and the water moves, and there's always a little bit of movement going on. And with fly fishing, movement helps a lot. Yeah.
Sorry, what do you think about Lake Guntersville with fly fishing? Is that a good spot, or would it be better? If
Oh, yeah.
Place around Grass Spring?
Guntersville's a great area, a lot of good bass up there, wonderful bluegill and shellcracker fishing, mainly in the spring. We start going up there in March, April, May, and if you can find an area where the milfoil doesn't overcome you, you can fish them right on in through to July up there and catch really good, I mean, humongous big bluegill and shellcrackers, and some real nice bass too. Does anyone have any questions? Anybody else have anything? As far as I know, that's about what I got, and we'll take about a 20-minute or so social break. Talk to these guys or me or whoever you want to, and we'll answer some questions about you. I know a lot of this, what Frank said, he said, "Woo, I can't afford $300 for a reel," that kind of stuff.
I walked out of the room when you talked about DeKalb County. George and I were up there.
Yeah.
Last,
2 weeks ago.
I caught a 5.5 pounder and a 3.5 pounder.
Yeah,
We did not catch them on flies, it was slow.
yeah, that's what I was telling them.
If you go on their Facebook page, there's a 10-2,
Yeah.
a bunch of 8s and 9s, there's some big fish.
Yeah,
And I asked him, I said, to the guy at the office,
yeah,
they refit, they closed that lake, drained it, and they reopened it 6 years ago.
yeah. We were up there right after it reopened, and it was this time of year. It was hot weather. You couldn't hardly stand to be out there, much less fishing. And we caught a few brim, but not very many.
I'm gonna say this, and I know y'all may have already made a decision, the pavilion does not have electricity.
Yeah,
The campground does. So if 2 or 3 people were to go up and take their camper or rent a camp spot, then you'd have electricity, picnic tables, and a boat launch up there.
yeah,
So just saying, the pavilion is in the parking lot, so if you're the pavilion, you're looking at a gravel. If you rent a picnic spot or the campground, you're on the lake, which is pretty and nice, where you have your kayaks and stuff pulled up to your camp spots. Just saying.
Yeah.
Now, I won't be here, I'm gonna be out of town,
But we're still in the works on trying to, if we can salvage something in this trip, we'd like to do that. Maybe we can, it may have to be a week or so after that, but they were really hoping to go that week, because I think that's the weekend of the full moon. And generally when it comes to bluegill, shellcracker fishing, the full moons seem to be the best.
Sure. But I'm just saying, on the pavilion, understand there's no electricity.
Yeah.
Unless they fix it.
Right, there's not any up there.
Do what?
There's not any electricity at the pavilion.
There used to be. It's just broken.
Oh,
There's a plug there, it just doesn't work.
oh, well, I didn't know that.
So, but at the campground, if somebody were to dig in the water, to rent one camp spot, you've got electricity and water.
So, all right, well, just watch your emails and so forth. If we can get something put together, if you got any ideas or suggestions, we're always wide open.
It's a beautiful lake.
Yeah, most of these county lakes are good, decent lakes to fish in. You'll find them. It's just, you get there at the right time, you know, you're gonna catch some fish, hopefully.
You check out Facebook, you'll wanna go. There's a lot of big fish that way.
Yeah,
He
that's
said,
it.
he said they caught hundreds of 7, 8 times.
Yeah. So, well, if no one has anything else, we'll enjoy a little social time here for about 20 minutes or so, and then, an important thing, when we leave here at night, we gotta leave this room just like we found it. We gotta sweep the floors, clean all of our trash up, put the tables back. So, we need everybody's help to try to get all that put back together before we leave here. And, hey, I enjoyed seeing y'all here tonight. That, maybe we'll get some of our former members back. We got 3 of them in Indiana, and we got about 3 or 4 headed for Alaska, and some of them are just sitting at home, I think. We got to get them back motivated after the virus. What?
So the next meeting will be our next session. Last month, we introduced this Catching Fish on the Fly series, and what Frank presented tonight is the first. And so next month will be the second topic, which is all about casting, and they'll do a little demo, but then we'll be able to get out and do some actual casting. So be sure to come. And if you didn't get one of these flyers at the last meeting, we've got them, but you can see what the series is. And we may interrupt it if we have special guests or speakers, but otherwise, you know, we'll follow that progression.
Well, we don't want to overwhelm anybody or run you off or anything. Just like tonight, I've been fly fishing for about 14 years. I didn't know how to take a rod apart. Anyway, thanks a lot for being here. Let's socialize, ask me questions, talk or whatever, get to know each other, and then in a few minutes I'll holler at everybody. We'll clean this place up and go home. Thank you.